So this episode, we are covering Vanilla Sky.
Yes, we are. Vanilla Sky, an acquired taste, a film of acquired taste.
You know what? We don't even have to get into it. Let's get Brandon P. Karlis, Lil P. What's the name we're giving him? I would just call him Special K.
Special K.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
We are going to be.
Everybody hates Special K.
Let's get Special K on the line real quick to give us a elevator pitch on Vanilla Sky. For those who have not seen it, you can catch up to where we are before we get into everything that we're about to get into.
Take it away, Kay.
Hello.
Hello.
Tell the audience what you do besides what you're about to do.
I don't normally do this. I'm a designer of basically any form of media you need designed, and that's what I do for money.
Well, money. What do you do? What qualifications are you bringing to the table?
I was on a film podcast for a couple years, and then that got disbanded, and I've never stopped being really mean about movies and things. So I kind of this seemed like a pretty good segment for me to come in and tear down some things.
There we go. And tear down, I want you to do.
In an elevator pitch it's kind of hard to pitch a movie that you don't like. So Vanilla Sky is based off of Open Your Eyes, which was a Spanish foreign film, and it also had Penelope Cruz in it, which is pretty dope. Her titties do not get enough attention or accreditation, or they're nice. They're nice as hell. Anyway, so we open up and there's New York City. We see stereotypical, I would say drone shots, but it was shot in the early 2000s, so that's not a thing yet. We meet David, who's a rich ass trust fund kid. Basically, they should call it Vanilla Sky, or you need to tax rich people. So we hear the words, open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. You see Tom Cruise in bed. He goes and unplugs, plucks a gray hair or whatever. Goes to Times Square in a Porsche, which is a really nice car. That sequence is pretty cool. We cut to a weird random thing where Kurt Russell's sitting there talking to the Phantom of the Opera. And they're sitting there just talking back and forth about whatever. So far, I'm not intrigued, and so far I don't care. Then we cut back to the real world where David's having a party for his birthday, and he's walking around being like, look at all my fancy because I'm a rich guy. Look at all my fancy rich guy And Brian Brody, as people know him from other things, Brody shows up, and he's got Penelope Cruz with him. And her name is Sophia in this, but then there's some confusion about who's who. They have the party. You could tell they're kind of interested in one another. So then, later that night, as far as the timeline is concerned, he goes back to Sophie's place. Oh, by the way, this whole time he's f***ing this bitch named Julie, and Julie wasn't even invited to the party, even though he f***ed in her mouth. They have a really interesting back and forth. They're people from two different worlds. I guess they don't have sex. It's not really it's not implied between Sophie and David whether or not they have sex. So I'm just gonna say they didn't, because she seems like she's not that kind of girl. Next morning, we're almost 45 minutes in the movie at this point. Julie is in a car, and she's like, David, you come with me, get in the car. So he gets in the car. They're driving, and she's freaking out because apparently they're 4 times, and in somebody's mouth doesn't mean anything to David. I mean, why should it? There's no children involved. She goes crazy. They fight over the steering wheel, and then Julie dies in a car accident, and David is in a coma for 3 weeks. David wakes up from that coma, and he's kind of at this point, we're kind of confused on what is dream, what is comatoseness. David's disfigured, right? He gets out of the hospital. He has this weird dream sequence that has to deal with Sophia, and then he goes to a nightclub to meet up with Brody and Sophia, and he tries to hit on Sophia after, in his mind, thinking that night they had where they were there was tension, and then whatever, then he got in a car accident. And so he's pulling on that. Meanwhile, in his comatose state, he had this almost not an entire relationship with Sophia, but he had a little bit more of an inkling of what's up with Sophia. So they go to the bar. They're on the same side of the bar at one point, but then they're on the other end of the bar club, and he's just sitting over here just taking shots with his Phantom of the Opera mask with the bartender. And at this point, Tom Cruise, aka David, is just out of his mind. Then I guess Brody and Sophia distance themselves from him bar-wise, like I was saying earlier, and so he goes over there to talk to them. I don't know how long the time has been since he's been doing 30 shots with the bartender. It seems like it was the entire evening was spent over there, but he goes back over there. He's shit-faced. He tries hitting on Sophia. Brian's Sophia's very uncomfortable. You can see she's visibly uncomfortable, which is kind of weird since the audience doesn't know that part of this movie. Anyway, he goes outside. They have some words. Sophia gets really uncomfortable. Brian steps in. Then Sophia runs home, which is kind of a weird transition. Brian has to go to his motorbike, I guess. It's up a street and around the corner or whatever. Anyway, long story short, David passes out in the fucking gutter and wakes up the next morning with his Phantom of the Opera mask. He goes home, takes a bunch of pills, and kills himself. Then he's dead. But if you're rich, you really don't die, you just get cryogenically frozen. While he's dead, quote unquote, he's having like this whole relationship with Sophia that never happened. He only met her like twice. One of those times he was completely f***ed out of his mind. Oh, by the way, David's afraid of heights, which makes no sense that he lives in a penthouse in New York City. Just saying. So we get about like an hour and a half into this film, and finally something happens. You have the whole back and forth between Kurt Russell and the back and forth scenes, and like you're not really sure which part of the timeline you're in, so I established that timeline that at this point he's dead. So like Kurt Russell's a figment of his imagination. At this point his subconscious is just at war with itself. First act ends. The first act ends 45 minutes into a fucking 2-hour long movie. That is way too long to get through your first act. I don't care. So there's Benny the dog, who's like this weird motif that's strung throughout, where it like leads the subconscious. The subconscious is playing like little things here and there within his altered dream states. Anyway, so Benny's there. His owner is like this weird fucking like. By the way, Spielberg's at David's birthday party. What the fuck? Where was I? Oh yeah, he's dead. So basically, that's the story. Is he's dead for like, or he's like cryogenically frozen in his altered dream state where his subconscious is attacking him the whole time. This whole movie is a convoluted mess where everything's jumbled together. So we're an hour and a half into this film, and that's where David, within his like whole simulation, ends up killing Sophia because he thinks Sophia is Julie, and how can Sophia be Julie if Julie's been dead this whole time? He thinks it's the board. He's a paranoid person who seems to think like everybody's trying to take his money and his power from him. And I think his own problems came from himself. His whole undoing of his whole dream state was because he was too big of a to like own up to the he had done and to be a better person. Not only is there no likable, Penelope Cruz's character is the only likable character in this whole film, and it's 2 hours long. How the am I gonna care about Tom Cruise? Anyway, there's these weird bar scenes that are intertwined in between of like the ending parts. So you don't know why he's in prison the whole time through the first half of the movie. Then you get to the part where he kills Sophia / Julie in like an hour and a half in, and then the rest of the movie is just like, I don't care anymore, get to something that matters to me. He ends up at LE because apparently Michael Shannon and Kurt Russell busted him out of the jail, which was met with like minimum resistance, which lets you know that it's not real. And they mention how he's afraid of heights a lot in this film for the ending. It's just for the ending. It's the ending where he's on top of the roof and he's talking to Ellie, and Kurt Russell's like, I'm your subconscious, I want to survive, I'm real, I've got kids. And tech support's like, what are their names? And he's like, oh shit. And then Tom Cruise just yeets himself off the building. And that's the movie, really.
Hey, Brandon, listen, man, thank you so much. Listen, we got 10 more episodes to do. Killer elevator pitch for this film, man. Listen, keep being who you are. Go back on the road. He's our traveling. He's going where you don't want to go, deep into these films. So, hey, Brandon, thanks, man.
No problem. I'll see y'all next week.
All right, before we move on from elevator pitch, I wanted to bring up something real quick that I saw on IMDb. Cameron Crowe actually summed up the movie in the production notes with the following words. Snowboarding through life, David Ames appears to lead a charmed life, handsome, wealthy, and charismatic. The young New York City publishing executive's freewheeling existence is enchanting, yet he seems to be missing something. Like the pointillism? Like the pointillism of an impressionist landscape, a life can appear to be entirely different when examined close up. In one night, David meets a girl of his dreams and loses her by making a small mistake. Thrust unexpectedly onto a roller coaster ride of romance, comedy, suspicion, love, sex, and dreams, David finds himself on a mind-bending search for his soul and discovers the precious, ephemeral nature of true love.
Say that one time fast.
I can't. I
barely made it through it and you were reading it.
Do you agree with that as someone who has recently revisited the movie? Would you agree with that, with the writer-director's summary of the film?
I'm not going to disagree with his opinion. Everyone has one.
Okay, then we're all in agreement that it is a great synopsis for a great film. Let's move
Well,
on to
what do you
do.
no, you can't. No, we all agree it's a great synopsis.
I'm just
for
excited
the
to
film,
get
for the film.
I'm
It's
just
a great
very-
synopsis for the film. I'm not going to let you cheat the viewing audience.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.